Everyday Orthodox. I'm your host, Elisa Bieladich-Davis, and we get together here on Sunday nights to talk to everyday Orthodox Christians. You know, I find that building church unity is really about getting to know one person at a time, right? If we can see each other as our brothers and sisters in Christ, then we're unified. That's it. We don't need all the administrative details or anything else. So that's our project here. We're getting to know each other. We're getting to know the church. And you're welcome. I'm so glad you're here to join us. Tonight, we have really a great guest. I'm very excited. Our guest tonight is named Claire Vlachos-Martin, and she's the Director of Operations for Focus North America. And she's actually new in the position, so it's pretty exciting. She lives in St. Louis with her husband of 23 years, and she has a son. He's 19, named Leo, and a daughter who's 16, named Eleni. She's an active member in the Greek Orthodox community, and she's here tonight to get to tell you all about herself and so that you can get to know her. Claire, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you were able to come. It's really nice. I know we were able to meet in Cleveland at a Focus event, and it was so nice. And I'm glad that you're able to be here. So tell me, Claire, where does your story start? Were you born in St. Louis? How does it begin?
No, actually, I'm a transplant, but a long-term one. So this is my home. But no, I was born in Florida, actually. And when I was very little, my parents ended up moving to the middle of Illinois, which was where I grew up, and was only about an hour and a half from here. And I moved here when I was 18. So I've been here a very long time. My family's here, my church and my life are here. So this is my home.
Indeed. Absolutely. Oh, that's neat. Now, in Florida, were you in Tarpon Springs, or were you in the Greek capital of Florida, or were you just in Florida?
No, that was a good guess, though. That's where I would have guessed as well. Now it's just a little Newport Richie.
Okay.
My dad moved around for work a few times, and so, my family kind of moved around a bit until we hit Illinois and then stayed put.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. So where in Illinois were you? Were you like in a suburb? Were you in a small town? Where were you growing up?
I grew up in Springfield, Illinois, so land of Lincoln, if anybody's familiar with Illinois.
Yes.
So, yeah, about an hour and a half from St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I went to Lincoln's house there. It's really cool, actually. It's really great. That's cool. All right. So as you were growing up then, I mean, it's a medium-sized town, right? It's not a big city, but it's not really tiny either. It's the state capital, I think, right? So it's a big town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have any siblings, or what was your childhood like?
Yeah, I have an older sister. She's 4 years older. The rest of my family, for the most part, is in Greece. My dad was the only one who came here from Greece on that side of the family. And my mom's second-generation Greek-American, but really tiny family. So I've got one cousin on her side, and the rest of my family's in Greece. So we've been there a few times to go be with my aunt and all my cousins and everything. But it was very tiny. Nuclear home, just four of us.
Sure. Gosh. So when you were a kid, did you wish that you were in Greece, or that the family was here, or did you kind of like the fact that it was a small group and you could go travel and visit?
No, I was so jealous of everybody who had big families and,
I bet.
Lots of aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents and all that stuff. My grandparents got to come twice and stay with us for a couple summers, so I did get to know them to an extent, so that was a blessing. But I really, whenever we go to Greece and there's, a house that's just the seams are busting open from cousins, I'm like,
right.
Oh, I wish I would have had this. It's okay. We visit when we can.
That's good. At least you belong to the family, even if you don't get to grow up with all the cousins and everyone's there. I'm sure if you did too, you would wish that it was a quieter. You never know. It's
right.
The grass is always greener.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Yep. So as you were growing up, what kind of things were you interested in? What kind of kid were you?
Well, to be honest with you, I worked constantly. We had a family restaurant, so I didn't have a lot of downtime. It was just school and helping the family business was kind of it. But the thing that I loved the most was science, and I thought I was going to be a doctor. So I spent lots of time reading about science and thinking that was my path, and went all the way to pre-med and then went, nope, I'm just going to get a science degree. I'm not going to do
was that?
I mean, I really spent a lot of time working in my family's restaurant growing up.
And so I assume the whole family, did your sister work there and your parents were there?
Oh, yeah.
What is that like?
We were always together.
Right. What is that like working, in the family restaurant? I've known a few families and I've never really understood, is it, I guess you guys all know the whole staff. It's kind of like an extended family, I would assume, except with a lot of drama and problems sometimes. I don't know. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very long, hard hours. It's my father was the chef, and so he was in there by 6 a.m. every day, and the summers I would get up and go with him because I enjoyed hanging out with him and learning how to cook and doing all that. So 6 a.m. in the restaurant, cooking, serving everything by 11 a.m., close it all down by 3, and then all of the rest of the work, the cleanup, and they had to take care of bills and all that stuff. So it's really a 12-hour day. So it's a lot of work. But on the other hand, it afforded me a chance to really get to spend a lot of time with my parents, especially my dad. He passed when I was a senior in high school, so I feel that I was very blessed to have spent that amount of time with him because I didn't get to spend a lot of years, but I did get to spend a lot of time. So that was a really good thing. If he'd had a regular corporate job, I wouldn't have felt like I got to know him at all, probably. So I had
Absolutely.
a very good outcome from that.
Or even if he ran a restaurant and you didn't work there, right? He would have had long, hard hours and, maybe felt absent and you wouldn't have gotten to see him. So that is beautiful. That's a good way to look at it. That's neat.
Yeah.
But so as you're working in the restaurant, you're liking the learning to cook and all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. But I assume, are you then now one of those people who you kind of feel like you just can't be lazy? You know what I mean? Sometimes you grow up with this idea that you should always be working. You should be doing something productive with every minute, and resting's not productive. And I know my dad was also a small business owner, and that's how we grew up, was I just can't quite imagine just sitting down and putting my feet up and not feeling bad about it. Is that how you grew up?
I'm the butt of many jokes with my children and my husband because I literally won't sit down, and they're like, right. Maybe now you'll sit down. I'm like, no, not I'm running circles around the house. They're sitting watching a movie. I can't sit. You're spot on. That's exactly what happens. And, that it's good in the sense that you grow up learning a very strong work ethic, extremely responsible. So it yields a lot of very good things, but it also does create an imbalance in your personality of exactly what you just articulated. I feel like I constantly need to be on the go, and it's hard. I will make myself sit down and read, and it's anxiety inducing to sit down. It's hard.
Right. Yeah. It really is. And it's true. You have a good work ethic. You're very productive. You'll get a lot of things done. But then, as you start to run down and get worn out, it's really hard to stop and take good care of yourself because you're just not ready to sit yet. You want to keep going and you want to feel productive all the time. Yeah, I know that feeling. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, when you were a teenager, then your father passed. I'm sorry, may his memory be eternal. And then was it just you and your mom and your sister? By then, maybe your sister had moved out, though.
She hadn't moved out, actually. She was working while still at home. And we ended up, without my dad, he was the chef. There's no restaurant without the chef. Oh, so right. My mom closed the restaurant, and that's when we moved to St. Louis, because this is where her one cousin was that I mentioned earlier. And it was time for me to go to college, so fresh start. And the rest is history. I've been here ever since.
Well, that's tough. I didn't think about that, but that's right. With him gone, there's kind of no restaurant left now. And as restaurant family, did your mom have a great retirement saved up or anything like that? Was it just kind of it just stopped and she had to figure out what to do?
Yeah, it was obviously a very jolting time, and she did her best, and we all made it. But everybody's got some point in their life that it was extremely frightening and very difficult transition, and that was definitely ours. But yeah,
well, and again, I think that's common. With a self-employed crowd of us, you know, there aren't company 401ks that get matching funds and things like that. And previous generations maybe weren't even as conscious of that. And it's really tough. Absolutely. Do you feel like that? I mean, I feel like that must have been just a huge moment. That was a turning point for you. It's so much, right? Finishing high school, losing your dad, losing the whole family, but everything changes all at once.
Yeah.
Did you come through that, do you think, stronger for it? Or do you think that it just sort of ruined a couple of years? Like, what do you think? I just feel like that's just a really big shift to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it was a defining time, right? Like my life would have turned out very differently had that not happened. But I mean, I think it depends on your personality type as to how you view things. Some people fight, and some people tend to kind of fall down. Thank God I'm a fighter, and I fought. And I made my way. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously very challenging, and it's a very formative time in somebody's life to be that age, to be going through something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think hardships, number one, they're a part of life, and they strike every family. So I never had the sense of why me, because there isn't a person you can meet ever who's not been touched by some level of tragedy. So we all have to deal with it as part of life. So I think that was helpful, that I was able to kind of move through it in that way of not feeling victimized, but, you know, hey, this is horrible, but it's part of life, and I'm going to be okay. And the I'm going to be okay piece came from my faith. And I have to say, the one place that felt like home in all of that turmoil and transition was church. That's always been my home. Every time I walk in, that's my home.
Thank God. Well, and I do think, we Orthodox are lucky in the sense that we don't think we're earning blessings from God. We don't think he's sending us, punishment for bad behavior or anything like that. So we avoid some of those spiritual pitfalls that really you can fall into when you feel like you're rewarded for spiritual progress, like physically, like prosperity gospel or something. It can become hugely traumatic and threaten your faith at a time when you really need your faith. So what a blessing to have a faith that is so sort of, in a way, easy to hold on to through a time like that. And that's always there for us. So as a child, you loved church, like right from the beginning. Did you always like it? Or do you think there was like a moment somewhere in middle school or something where it clicked for you? What do you think?
No, I've always loved it. I don't know. It was just one of those, I think some of it for me is that it's such an immersive experience. Like I love the smell, the incense makes me happy. I love the chanting. I love Byzantine chanting in Greek. That's my favorite, is to hear it in Greek. It's so melodic and so, it almost mimics the rhythm of your heartbeat type thing. It's so calming and so peaceful. I just always was drawn to it. And plus, it was always a family day. We would, put nice clothes on and go make a day of it. And so for us, because we actually, it's a bit of an oddity, but we ended up coming to church in St. Louis when I was a child. The priest at one of the churches here was very close with my parents. And so instead of going to church in Springfield, once a month we drove an hour and a half to come to St. Louis.
No
so we had
kidding.
connections from St. Louis for that too. Yeah.
Oh, great.
That was the whole thing when we would go to church, right? So.
Right. Wow.
So, but yeah.
Well, and it's nice that you were able.
People.
Did you close the restaurant on Sundays, or was it more holidays when you came in? Or because that's another thing, right? With the restaurant, it interrupts that.
Yeah. So my dad never had the business open on Sundays. That was the family day. It was the one day a week he was off.
Wow, bless him. That's really cool. That's very cool because I know that's hard to. It's hard to do. It's hard to feel confident about closing a business one day a week.
Sure.
That's amazing.
No, we didn't take vacations. It's another byproduct of being a family business. There's no vacation.
Do you vacation now, or do you still not want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do. Because then I ended up in a regular career with PTO and all of that fun stuff, right? And honestly, I remember my mom saying to me from early on, you need to be an entrepreneur. You have it in you. And I said, I'm sure that I do, but I don't want it. I want a regular job.
That's a lot of us, right? Like, give me a 9 to 5, guys. I'm good.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You wore me out in my childhood. That's
right.
great.
I just never wanted to relive any of that. It's so much the gravity, and you know this, the gravity of owning a business. Even if you're not in the business, you're worrying about the business. It never leaves you. It's an eternal stress, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah, I think you really have to be passionate about it because it is a lot of stress. And it's just this feel, everything is always such a big deal. It's like your family's survival relies on this one thing. Like if nobody shows up on Tuesday, we're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. Like that's a big deal. It's a very big deal. It's stressful. Absolutely.
Yes. Yep.
But, so you loved church all along. Now, were you like involved in Goya and youth activities and things like that? Or was it like with once a month in St. Louis, it might have kind of interrupted that a little?
Yeah, I mean, we did to the extent that we could, there were a couple times we would stay with friends from church here in St. Louis for like a week so that we could be involved in like if there was a church camp or whatever.
Cool.
So, I mean, and I still have a couple of my friends from when I was little to this day from church. So, I mean, it's just church has always kind of been the center, and then everything else kind of works around it in my life type thing. So yeah, but yeah, I was a little dancer. I had my little outfit.
That's great.
The whole thing.
Well, I mean, your parents must have worked hard to make sure that church could be at the center, even though you were distant from it, and even though everybody was working. And that's neat. Could you feel growing up that your parents had a deep faith? Did you feel like you could see the faith, or was it more like they must because we're at church, I guess?
No, I mean, we lived the faith in our home. Like we had the kind of station, with the candles, and we had, we even if we couldn't go to church, we would still pray. My parents talked to us all the time about the beauty of our orthodoxy, about the Panagia, the Virgin Mary, about miracles. My dad would tell us stories about miracles that he had heard passed down to him from generations back in the village in Greece that had been witnessed. I mean, it was a living part of our family and just kind of woven into our tapestry. It was just kind of part of who we were.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I think that's what we strive for with our kids. Ideally, wouldn't that be great? Because, I didn't grow up Orthodox, so we didn't have something like that. I'm a little jealous listening to you. It sounds beautiful. That's really neat. That's really neat.
I mean, it's the one thing I have to say, because I'm the same. I'm an Orthodox mom trying to figure out how do I make sure my children practice what we're instilling in them. And I think the one thing that really passes on from generation to generation is the comfort. Like you said earlier, there's no fire and brimstone. There's none of that. Orthodoxy is a source of tremendous comfort. So when something difficult is going on, that's an opportunity to teach and remind our children, you don't have to bear it alone. You can just pass it over and ask for help.
Yeah.
So I hope my kids have really intrinsically soaked it up. I think they have, but I guess I won't know until they're like 30.
Yeah, it'll be a while. It won't play. It's true, because kids also will have sometimes wander off in their 20s and then come back. So it's not over till it's over. So you just really don't know how it ends yet.
Right.
But that's part of the beauty. That's really neat. But so you lost your father, restaurant closes, you moved to St. Louis, and you start college, and you thought you were going to be a doctor, and you decided not to. So it's really a tremendous amount of change all at once for a young person to take in. You didn't have like a crazy period where, or probably not, though, because probably you had to take care of your mom, and it wasn't.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time to fall apart. You can't. There was too much. And I knew, I was driven enough to know I had to go to college. Like that was something that was just pounded into me. My dad was an immigrant. He had to stop school in the 6th grade to help with the farm in Greece and help the family. Like, in those times, people couldn't just feed their kids forever. When they were old enough to work, they had to contribute, right? So
yeah.
He really, really pounded that into us of like, go to college, go to college, go to college. So it was never in my mind to not go to college. Like I had to go, right? So that was just like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. I have to. It's my choice. So So that was, at least I had clarity for that. The piece about not becoming a doctor actually didn't come for another 3 years when I went pre-med.
Wow.
Okay. And then, in the pre-med program was like,
So you had a couple of years of like core classes that went fine, and then all of a sudden it hit.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. When I started actually, having to go shadow and do stuff like that, I was like, this is not for me. Then I just wrapped it up with a biology degree and ended up stumbling my way into corporate America with it and did fine, but it was not my plan.
Well, it's funny too. I think so often it's true about college majors, right? Like biology degree, you don't have to be a biologist, I guess. What was your first job?
Yeah, so my first job was working for a distributor of, so my whole career was in laboratory and medical research businesses.
What kind of biology?
You apply your life sciences biology knowledge, right? And just take it and serve the scientists and the doctors as opposed to being the scientist or the doctor. My first job was a little mom pop place that had like 4 employees, I don't know, maybe 5, and I was on commission only selling lab research equipment. I must have been out of my mind to take that job. Thank God I didn't know any better. Like, I think I just didn't know any better. Or I would have, like, looking back, I was like, oh my God, how did I pay for anything? I don't know.
But that first job out, though, I mean, it is, first of all, young people get a little exploited. Frankly, I still see it with my kids. I'm just like, wow, are they really going to make you do all of that for no money? But it's also a good opportunity, and you got to get started somewhere. But there you go. Right. So were you good at selling lab equipment? Did you make a lot of commission, enough to pay rent, or were you living with your mom?
I started off living with my mom for maybe a year or so, and then I again don't know how I did it. Moved out, got an apartment, somehow scraped by. I don't know.
Wow.
I just did it. I don't know. I think some of my personality that has served me is that I don't feel I have options sometimes when something needs to get done. I just do it. So,
well, as a kid, you probably didn't have options, right? Like, no, the grill will be scrubbed, and you will be doing that. See you later. That's
right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. So, a different time, right? Like, it is a little bit harsher of an atmosphere that I grew up in than maybe our children are growing up in. Immigrant families, there's a lot of requirements of trying to survive and make your way to the next month and keep food on the table and all that stuff. So, I didn't come from a very coddled background. So, I just did it. I made it work. Bought my first house when I was 25. Again, nice. I don't know how I figured it out.
On commission only, or had you upgraded by then?
By that time, I had started with my first job at a very large corporation where I ended up spending the majority of my career. And then that afforded me to be able to, get my feet under me, so to speak. Luckily back then there was, we had, I don't know if you remember the bubble where there was no money down and
yep.
sign right here. So I did. I signed, but I was always very like, okay, first thing you do is you pay the mortgage, and then whatever's left, then you take care of that. But mortgage first. So, I think I just always figured out like, okay, I have to do this. I'm going to do it.
Wow, that's impressive, really. 25. That's really cool to be able to buy a house and be out on your own. And a lot of 25-year-olds are still a little nervous about just adulting in general, right? Like paying the electric bill sounds like a big job to them sometimes. That's cool. That's really neat. Okay, so you're out there in the corporate world. And so were you, like, did you enjoy it? Because you weren't expecting to be in that world, right? That wasn't the plan. You weren't someone looking forward to that. Once you were there, I'm sure somewhat in your personality, you didn't think to ask whether you liked it or not. You're just doing it because that's what you're doing. But at some point, did you look around and say that you really liked it, or did you realize you didn't like it?
I liked it. I have to say, looking back, I spent, 25 years or so in that life sciences world. I did like it. And I think, again, there was tremendous blessing in it where I got to stay current on all of medical research and technology. And there were multiple times where that knowledge served my family and served friends, where I was able to help navigate. It's not an easy thing to have conversations with physicians or know whether or not you're supposed to have an MRI or a CT in a particular instance or something like that. And being able to have that discernment and have that knowledge has been tremendous to be able to help my family. And like I said, there have been a couple of times friends where if you don't mind, I'm going to just tell you, what you need to ask is this. And, because if you don't have that background, you don't know what you don't know. There's no way to know what to ask or what to do in a medical world. There just isn't. You're at the mercy of your caregiver. So I love that I had that link to the research. I still think science is cool. I still read white papers and publications from, science journals. And I still have such a passion for it. I love it. It's fascinating. And I still talk to friends about it. I'm like, oh, did you see this new thing that's happening? It's amazing. It's so great. That was great. And I ended up at a company where hard work was rewarded, and I made my way up the ladder and all of that American dream stuff. So, yeah, looking back, I have to say, it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. But I was very, very, very fortunate, and I did enjoy the path along the way.
That's wonderful. And it's neat too, as you said, to be able to use that information to apply that knowledge and help the family or friends. Like, that really is a unique and good thing. That's wonderful. That's neat. You don't get that out of a lot of corporate jobs, frankly.
Right.
But,
right.
Well, good. Well, we are going to go for a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment, back here on Ancient Faith Radio with Claire Vlachos-Martin. I keep saying Markin.
Each year after Pascha, the Orthodox Church celebrates the holy myrrh-bearers, who cared for Jesus' body after he was crucified. But myrrh-bearing has a broader definition. It can serve as a metaphor for the practical, incarnate love to which Christ calls his followers. In The Art of Myrrh-Bearing, author Elisa Bieletich-Davis explores the lives of grace-filled, myrrh-bearing saints in Scripture and throughout the life of the Church, offering questions for reflection in each chapter. By following the lead of compassionate saints, such as Joseph of Arimathea and Olga of Alaska, we can learn to embrace a simple and profound way of life in ever-deepening communion with Christ and with others. You can find this book at store.ancientfaith.com. Again, that is store.ancientfaith.com.
Welcome back to Everyday Orthodox. We're here building community the old-fashioned way. We've got Mike and Simon in the Chesterton studios taking care of us tonight, and we're so glad you're joining us. We're here with Claire Vlachos-Martin. I keep saying Markin instead of Martin, and I don't know what that is. It would be a very odd name. Martin actually is a very lovely name and common enough that I shouldn't be confused. But anyway, Claire, welcome back. We were just talking about your first years in the corporate world and how that was going. Now, at what point did you meet this wonderful husband of yours?
Yes. So I was very progressive for my time, and I was one of the early onset people on Match.com. So that's how I met my husband. And I always laugh because people are like, oh my gosh, how did you, what? Like, well, I was working constantly, and, I just wasn't somebody to go out to bars and all that. It just wasn't my personality to do that. So like, well, where am I going to meet someone, So I did that. And funny enough, I ended up, my husband is actually half Greek, and we had been running in the same circles, but never actually connected with one another. We knew a lot of the same people, and it was just such a strange happenstance. So that's how we met. But yeah, he's also Greek Orthodox.
That is really cool. Was he in St. Louis already, or was he just?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, like somehow his path and my path, and it's not a very big community here, so I don't know how we didn't meet, but we finally made it.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that is amazing. It is funny because it's like, well, without Matt, I mean, usually you say like our paths would never have crossed. It's like, no, they really should have crossed by then.
Right.
That's
right,
great.
right.
Though. That is great. So when you got matched and you met, like, was your mom freaking out that you met someone online? Because back then that was not happening very often, right? You were a pioneer.
I was a very, very modern woman, you know. I think she knows that I'm super smart about safety. So, like, first of all, we spoke for quite a while first. And then when we met, it was like, okay, I'll meet you at a movie theater, but I'm not, you're not coming to my house. So I took all my precautions. But after a few of those meetings, dates, it became very clear what a sweet person he was. And it's been almost a quarter of a century since then.
Oh, that's great. Well, and I suppose too, it was helpful that he's a nice Greek boy. He's his nuna probably. We've all met like indirectly, so that's cool. That's really neat. Right. That's very cool. Now, how long were you two together before you decided to get married?
Only about a year, a little bit over a year. By then I was 26, about to turn 27, I kind of just always knew I wanted to have kids. I knew I wanted to be with someone Orthodox. It was like a non-starter for me. I needed to have that in my life. And he just, I think what I loved about him the most was that he is so calm and even tempered, whereas I'm, you're what you would stereotype a Greek to be. Very high-strung. That would be me. So like, this is a nice balance. This is good.
Yeah. This is just such a great trajectory. It's just so like productive and direct, and you know what you want. And it's like, okay, I'm working, I'm buying the house, I'm finding the husband, like, let's go. One after the other. Every year you get another stepping stone to do. It's so impressive.
Right, yeah.
That's so cool. That. So how long was it before you started having kids?
Let's see. I had Leo when I was 30, and then I had Eleni when I was 33. So we had a little bit of time. We took our first trip to Europe before we had our children, which was just tremendous. I'd never been overseas at that point. And so that was really, really life-altering to see how other countries live and how they decorate things and serve their food. And it really, really changed me to be able to see other, multiple other countries. And I just loved it. And we made multiple trips back to Europe after that because I just got the bug. I'm like, this is beautiful. I was in love.
Yeah. It is really interesting, isn't it? Like what a difference it is to suddenly understand, like, things aren't a given. Like everybody doesn't see things the same way. Everybody doesn't do things the same way. Suddenly it's like, oh, there are a million options. Whereas before it just seemed like, no, there's a normal course of events. But absolutely, I also found that to be a big deal when I was a young adult and found it. I was just like, that's amazing stuff. But so you guys still travel a lot. Where do you like to travel? Where do you like to go?
Yeah, we went. So we did go back to see my aunt and cousins a few, I don't know, I guess it's been maybe 3 years now. And then whenever we go, because there's no easy way to get to Greece from St. Louis, we kind of make an adventure of it where we'll stop in a country we've never been before, where it's a connection, spend some time there, go to Greece, be with the family, and then on the way back, a different country again we've never been before, go explore. So that's been really fun to just kind of go spend 3-4 days in different countries and just get a feel for the culture and the food and all that. So primarily it's been Europe, some Mexico trips. But yeah, I have a bucket list that's very long of places I haven't been yet. So after college, my husband and I are taking off.
Right? When the kids don't need you anymore, it's time to go.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool. I like the idea of stopping on the stopovers. You make it a positive, right? It's like, oh, we can't fly direct anywhere, but that means we get a whole bunch of extra trips folded right in. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, it's fun.
And so as your kids were growing, I know that when your kids got a little older, you and I were talking about, you had said that they did a Yes Trip at your church, which is that how you came to know about Focus North America and hear about their work?
It is. I had heard about it in passing before because, one of our priests, Father Michael, and you know him, Urbana,
sure.
Has talked about it. And I'd heard him talk about it, but I didn't really have a strong sense of what it was. But he basically implored all the parents to bring their teenagers, send them on this trip. And we just have such a love for Father Michael that basically if he says this is a good thing to do, then we're like, okay. If you say it's good, we believe it's good. It's fine. so I sent the kids. And oh my goodness, both of them, my older one, Leo, he's a little bit more on the quieter side. He's more of an observer, a little more introverted. So he's not the one who's going to just throw himself in the middle of the crowd and start talking. And even he came home and said to me, oh my gosh, I sat and I talked to people that, told me stories about themselves. And it was so fascinating. And he was really moved by the serving of people and by meeting people and hearing some of their stories. And so that really caught my attention. And then my daughter just came home and literally said to me, Mommy, you need to go work at Focus.
That's so amazing. Well, for our audience, they might not know, Yes is a youth program of Focus, right? So it's youth equipped to serve. And on a Yes trip, the kids are going out and interacting with people who might be people in need. They might not be, but sort of the idea everybody's in need in a way, right, of love and dignity and respect. But that it's true. They end up getting sort of taken out of their comfort zone and really learning about serving Christ. And it's very beautiful. And I know it's been a big deal for kids a lot. It's funny, though, that your daughter would say that you should work for Focus. How did that, were you looking for a job? And she was like, Mom, this is where you should look?
Well, I mean, I think, she's one of those kids who's always listening. She's always listening to everything that my husband and I are saying. And, for a long time, I had been saying to my husband that, for one thing, I was working very, very long hours and traveling constantly. And so I was really getting very burnout, basically, very tired, very stressed. Just maybe not waking up feeling that sense of purpose that one would want to have day to day with their work. And so I think she kind of heard me saying that quite a bit and knew that I was not fulfilled. And so, yeah, she said that to me, and it kind of hit me up the side of the head like, what? I have a job, okay, but, and I didn't take any action about it, but it sat with me. And I don't know, maybe another month or two went by, and I was having another moment in the middle of a work day of this isn't what I want to be doing anymore. Kind of like when I thought, I don't want to be a doctor. This is not for me. I kind of was like, I've done this. I made my way up to where I wanted to be in the organization. I accomplished a lot. Kind of proved to myself that I could do what it was I'd set out to do. And once I had done that, I don't know, I guess kind of some of the passion had left at that point. And so then I literally on a whim went onto the Focus website thinking, of course there's not a job open. Come on, there's no way. And there was.
Wow. Wow. So it wasn't even she said that. So I started watching Orthodox Jobs, right? orthodoxjobs.com, I think it is, or .org, that lists all the positions. It wasn't even a wider search. It was literally just Focus.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Because she had said that to me, when they went on the Yes trip to the Focus Center here in St. Louis, she was so taken aback at the loving kindness of everyone and how sweet everyone was and how unassuming everyone was. And she was just, she kept repeating, like, you need to work with these kind people. I was like,
wow.
Okay.
That is so cool.
I literally, that is literally how I ended up at Focus, was because she went on that yes trip and, was so moved that it moved me to just take a chance. And that was a very hard transition for me to go from super fast paced. I was working at 6 a.m. every day until 5 o'clock every afternoon, no breaks. And to go from that, and with my faith a part of only my private life, never at work, and then shift gears so dramatically, that took some time, but what a good choice it was.
So the shifting gears, shifting down was, that's the daughter of a restaurant owner right there, right? Like,
you got
one would think the opposite would be true, right? Like, oh, I finally relaxed and I wasn't working nonstop and I was working from home. No, not at all. It was harder. What do you think was hard about it at first?
Everything. Number one, it was shocking to me to hear people talking about orthodoxy and Christ during a business day on a Zoom meeting. Like, I came from a corporate setting where no one talked about their faith, whatever denomination they practice. Like, that was not done, And then to go into, it was like a blend. It was like my worlds collided. Like, I had everything categorized. Like, this is my corporate life. This is my faith. This is my family, right? And then it all just kind of blended in. I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Which is so funny, because that's such a desirable thing, really, right? There are sermons about, like, you want to bring your whole life together. You don't want to be compartmentalized. And there you were doing it quite suddenly. And wow, that's amazing. So I'm sort of amazed by this. She just said Focus, and you looked on the website and there was a job and you got it. Just no problem.
It was the weirdest thing, honestly. Like, every job I ever went after, and they interviewed me very hard. Don't get me wrong. They interviewed me very hard.
Right.
But every job I ever went after in my corporate life, I had to study, and I had to put together these extensive presentations, and and I don't know, it was the strangest thing. Like, I interviewed not with any expectation of getting the job. I just was being myself. It's like, whatever happens, happens, I think I really just didn't believe that path would be laid out for me. So I was doing it, but not believing that it was going to come to fruition. And then it did. And then I was like, oh.
Well, that's probably perfect, right? Because with all the corporate, I would assume that that's what Focus was looking for, was someone who can do the corporate world, but also has that love of orthodoxy and the love of faith there. So probably the fact that you relaxed a little and weren't doing presentations helped your case, I would imagine.
Maybe.
That's interesting.
Maybe so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and, they have said to me in hindsight exactly what you said. They were wanting to bring on people with acumen that come from a structured background and can bring in some of that knowledge, which is great, but you can't do it in a vacuum. You have to be somebody who already lives, breathes, and eats your faith. And I'm just a layperson, right? Like, I didn't go to seminary. I'm not, I'm just a layperson, but it is a part of who I am, and there isn't anything that I do, there isn't anyone that I speak to, there isn't anything that I embark on that doesn't somehow carry that forward in the moment. It's just, I don't know, it's just who I am.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're the right person for the job. That's great. Now, for our listeners who maybe don't know what Focus is, tell us, how would you describe Focus? Because sometimes I'm hard pressed to do it, because Focus is a lot of different ministries, right? What would you describe it as?
Yeah, it's a very unique organization. So Focus is Fellowship of Orthodox Christians United to Serve. So really what that means, if you boil it down, is it's a pan-Orthodox organization. So it doesn't matter if you're Greek or you're Serbian or you're It doesn't matter what type of Orthodox background you have. We're all Orthodox Christians. And the idea is that we come together and serve Christ in whatever way each community requires. And so to your point about it's a little different everywhere you look, that's purposeful. So the idea is, we have 13 centers now. Excuse me, next year we'll have probably another 4 added on to that.
Wow.
And every single center, what happens is we go into the area, the city, talk to the parish priest, talk to the main people who want to get involved. It kind of gets opened up to the community of Orthodox people, like literally an email blast goes out. If you are interested in discussing this, come to the meeting. And it really is in those moments, excuse me, that it is decided, what does the community here need? Sometimes it's a feeding ministry. Sometimes it's a parenting ministry. Sometimes it's clothing. It can look like a lot of different things. So instead of us coming to a community saying we are bringing a particular ministry, instead we come to the community and ask, what is your ministry that you need to bring wellness? And it's not a ministry towards Orthodox people only. It's a ministry to a city, to an area, to a community. And it's served by Orthodox people.
It's wonderful because people get so often there just aren't a lot of Orthodox projects that you can volunteer for, right? Like we have a lot of converts here in Texas in the Orthodox Church, and they come in and they say, what projects can we do? And it's like, well, we have this and this, but not a lot of things, not big organized things. So it really is a wonderful thing that Focus is really helping us build up centers in cities doing that. And I love that it's not just one size fits all. With Yes, we always would teach the kids this idea that, if you can't just walk in and tell people what they want. Like even a homeless community, you can't walk in and say, oh, they need food. Maybe they need food. Maybe they don't. You can't assume that. In fact, in Austin, people rarely need food because there are so many feeding ministries. So if we were to do something, we'd have to get creative and think of a different thing, right? But it's wonderful to have that freedom and to have the respect for each community to understand. And I would assume, too, with the volunteers, there are going to be people who are passionate about something. And if that doesn't happen to be the thing in the next city, maybe you got to look at that for this city. So that's cool. That's really neat. Now, so if someone was in a city that didn't have a Focus Center, as I am, how do we get something rolling? How do you get something started with Focus?
Yeah, you basically go, either if you know who somebody in the Focus community, that's fine. You can always just reach out and offer up your suggestion, or going to focusnorthamerica.org. And there's a link where you can email, and it goes straight to a wonderful lady on our team. And she kind of mans the email box, and then she forwards it to whoever would be the appropriate person to answer a question. So either me or Steve would get that email, and then we would, and we do, because we get those kinds of emails all the time, engage and start asking questions and seeing, is there viability in an area, and just start scoping it out.
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. Now, where are some of the new centers? You guys are just opening them like every year lately now, right? Where are some of the newer ones?
Yeah, Bridgeport, Connecticut is our newest one. We just hired a director. She starts in about a week or so. And then we've got some other areas that are being looked into right now. We don't have them up and running approved yet, but hopefully we've got some that will be coming around the corner in California and DC area. So yeah, there's, God willing, if we get it up and running, there should be another 4 this year in 2026. There's actually a pipeline that's probably longer than what we have the manpower to get to. But it's a good thing to have to triage to figure out where can we help first. And people are reaching out and they are wanting to get involved, which is amazing. It really is.
That is wonderful. And as you said, it's pan-Orthodox. So it's so cool because if you have, say, a feeding center or a clothing thing or something, there's a location where all the different churches can send volunteers. You all get to know each other across the city, right? And it's not so much, I don't know. I feel like you can be at the Serbian church and there are a bunch of people at the Greek church down the street, but you don't know each other and you would never know each other. You go to carpool or go to a soccer game or something, which has happened to me, actually. There was a woman wearing an icon bracelet and I was like, oh, are you Orthodox? And I was like, oh, look at that. Our kids have been in school together for years. I had no idea because she was at a different jurisdiction, right? Same place, different jurisdiction. So it's so beautiful because it really brings the whole community together and brings unity, and it gets people working and doing beautiful work. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's really neat. And I just feel like with our youth programs, I would love to have a center nearby that we could, organize something where the kids are helping out sometimes. It would be beautiful. So it's like a weekend.
Let's get on. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Come on, Claire. Come on down to Austin. I'm ready. We need it. No, we really are ripe for it. It would be a great thing here. But I'll send an email and we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll dig into it.
That's great. So now what exactly is your position at Focus? What are you doing now?
So I'm Director of Operations. So all the Focus centers around the country have a director that oversees each center. And those directors report to me. And basically what my job is I work with them to make sure that, most importantly, they have the support they need in order to execute their ministries in the most effective way and in a way that serves our guests the best. And then I have the privilege of traveling around to each one of the different centers and getting to know all the advisory committee members, which I love, because like what you just said, I meet people I would have never otherwise met from all different types of communities. It's fascinating. So I love doing that. And then, help to go serve at the different centers. And whenever we have any kind of fundraiser, because we are 100% donation-based organization. So lots of fundraising events, and those are wonderful as well. People come together with so much joy, wanting to support and so engaged and excited to see the growth that is happening, that whenever I get to go do something like that, it's like it fills my cup. I'm like, it's so wonderful to be engaged in that stuff. I love it.
Oh, that's great. That's really neat. Yeah, I know you mentioned it was 100% donation-based. I know Focus is part of the Assembly of Bishops, and I know that people often assume that means Focus is somehow funded by the Assembly of Bishops, that it's like and I think it just doesn't work that way in Orthodoxy, right? Like we don't have a big, wealthy body of bishops that are like giving out grants to anyone, right? So how does that work? You are with the Assembly, right?
We are, and really it's a recognition, so that it's an acknowledgement that we are a recognized Orthodox organization that serves across North America. So it's really meant, and it keeps us in line with canonical requirements and faith, and so it's a mutual partnership. And so, yes, it's not a financial partnership. It's really faith partnership and an acknowledgement from the bishops across North America of what we do, and that we are an arm of the Orthodox Church. But yeah, I mean, the fundraising and the donations that come in from all of the generous people who love and care for their communities, that is how we continue our ministries. So we're able to actually take whatever comes in and then go buy whatever food we need in order to serve our guests, or get whatever clothing we need to help bring coats to people when they're cold. So yeah, we very much rely on the generosity of communities.
Wow. Well, and I think, yeah, it's true. It is just sort of like a stamp of approval from the bishops, right? It's saying, no, they're really Orthodox, because you do run into things where, people have a website that says they're Orthodox. What does that mean, right? So it's official, but it's not quite. I think in the Catholic Church, you can be officially Catholic, but also get a lot of funding. So here it's more just the seal of approval. So that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah. It's really neat. It's really a wonderful organization, I think. And it's just, we have the IOCC, but so much of that is really, it's either disaster based or it's international. So it's lovely to have something where people are able to volunteer personally and are able to focus on ongoing domestic needs. And so I've always thought of Focus as that's sort of the goal of it, is to be like the domestic charity, the ongoing charity. That's not there was an earthquake. It's that, no, there's just poverty and it's just hard.
Yeah, I think there's poverty and also a lot of the people that we help serve, they're not what you would normally think of as being impoverished. There are people who are working and they're not at risk with housing, some of them, right? They're working parents, sometimes working 2 jobs, and they're doing their best to make ends meet and figure out how to pay for the ever-rising health insurance and the food bill and, all of it. And they just need a little extra help to get by. There are a lot of people in that situation. So, the face of who we serve is very, very different from one city to the next, from one community to the next. And I always like to point that out to people because I think people always have in mind, and we do have people we serve who are unhoused and in their most needy times. We do have those people 100%, but we also have a lot of people who look and are exactly like you and me, and they just need some extra support and extra love to get through that month.
Well, and for that community in particular, it really is wonderful to have Orthodox charities or private charities, because there are government programs that'll catch you when you're at the very bottom, right? But if you're working, the government's not going to help you very much. Like, oh, you have an income, you're on your own, right? A lot of those things. I had a friend who was struggling and that she had children, and she was at the point where it was like, wow, if I have an income, they don't have free health care. So if I don't work, it's actually like it was a real struggle to figure out how to go from 0 to 60, right? How to get a job and have health care for everybody at the exact same time. So there are these challenges to normal life, even for people who are working, who are raising their family, who are just trying to keep it together. And it really is so important that we're there to catch those things, because, and really that's the thing that happens that leads people to being in a situation where they don't have a home, right? It's because something else goes wrong, right? If you can help someone keep it together so that they don't end up there, then so much better than helping them later.
Right.
Thank God.
Right. Exactly. It's especially today, there's always been difficulty and people struggling and everything, but it feels like people are getting even more squeezed now than before. So it's even more crucial that people pay attention to this right now. That, I remember, I grew up, and I had no idea until I was an adult that one of my classmates was basically, I guess, what people would call working poor. Sometimes they didn't have water, and I had no idea. She looked like everybody else, right? I was a kid. I didn't know any better. The stories she told me when we were in adults and she no longer felt ashamed to tell me what had really transpired in her childhood. She'd have to go to her grandmother's to go get food sometimes because her parents didn't have food. And, it's just, and that stuck with me of like, difficulty and struggling is happening to your right and to your left. It's not people somewhere else in another area of town. It is happening everywhere, in your church, your school, your work. So it's really important that we pay attention to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is true. I mean, we're in an era where if the armed forces are on food stamps, there are a lot of people with really, hard jobs who are working very hard and are not completely able to keep it together on that income. And so thank God for groups like Focus. It's wonderful work Focus does. And I know in Cleveland, you and I met at the St. Herman House, and what a beautiful ministry, what an impressive group, and what a kind group of people. Really lovely. Your daughter's right. They're very kind people at Focus. It's really lovely. It's wonderful that you're able to be among them. Of course, you're kind too, so you fit right in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, it is. It's wonderful to be surrounded by people who just want to be able to serve other human beings. It's really all everybody wants to do who works here. and I love it.
Thank God. Thank God. That's wonderful. And how wonderful for you to get to sort of turn from corporate America to this. It's just beautiful. Well, I want to remind our audience, if you're interested in Focus, it's focusnorthamerica.org. And there's, contact links and donation links and all sorts of different things so that you can learn about all the Focus ministries. They're really, really impressive. Claire, thank you so much for coming on the program. It was so nice to get to know you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's always my pleasure to see you and talk to you. Thank you very much for even asking me. I'm humbled and I'm very appreciative.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to our audience for joining us tonight, and come back next week and we'll meet another Everyday Orthodox Christian. Good night.